You interact with it hundreds of times a day, but I bet you've probably never actually seen it. Today, we're diving into the invisible magic of software localization, the real reason your digital world feels like it was built just for you. I mean, really think about it. You open up an app, and everything, the menus, the buttons, the messages, it's all perfectly in your native language. It's got your currency, your date format. That is definitely not an accident. It's the result of a really complex and honestly fascinating process. So the official definition is, the adaptation of products for another marketplace. But that's just scratching the surface. It goes so much deeper than just swapping out a few words. Think about it like this. When you travel with your laptop, you need a different plug for the wall socket, right? Or think about driving a car where the steering wheel is on the other side. Even humor is localized. A joke that absolutely kills in one country might get you nothing but crickets in another. That's localization in the real world. Okay, so how does this idea apply to the software that's on your phone or your computer? Well, it's not just about translating menus. It's about fundamentally rethinking and re-engineering a product so it feels completely native to a specific place. And to really get that, we've got to look under the hood. We need to see the blueprint that developers use to create software from the ground up. There's a pretty standard life cycle that takes an idea from just a concept to a finished product on your screen. And that blueprint? It's called the Software Development Life Cycle, or SDLC for short. It's basically the sequence of stages that pretty much all software goes through, and understanding this is the key to figuring out why some apps feel truly global and others, well, just don't. So traditionally, the SDLC is a very straight line. You start by gathering every single requirement, then you design the whole thing, then you write all the code, you test it, and finally you install and maintain it. Each step follows the last in this really strict, unchangeable order. But this logical process has a massive flaw. Get ready for this number, because it's pretty shocking. According to a huge, long-running study from the Standish Group, only 16% of software projects are actually delivered on time and on budget. 16. And it gets worse. A staggering 31% are just canceled before they're even finished. That is a colossal failure rate for a process that's supposed to be so logical. So the entire industry realized that building complex, modern software couldn't be like building a bridge with one fixed plan from day one. The world just changes way too fast. They needed a new approach, a whole new philosophy, really. And this brings us to the core conflict in the world of software development. The old way, which we call the Waterfall model, versus the new way, which is known as Agile. So this is the Waterfall model in its purest form. You can see how each stage just flows down into the next, kind of like a waterfall. You have to complete one stage 100% before you can even think about moving on to the next one, and there's no going back up. The problem is, the real world just doesn't work that way. I mean, needs change, new ideas pop up, markets shift. As the Institute of Localization Professionals puts it so well, the model is simple, but it's ultimately unworkable. Its biggest flaw is assuming you can possibly know everything you'll ever need at the very start of a long project. I mean, what if a user doesn't even know what they truly want until they see something that actually works? The industry had to shift gears. They needed to stop treating software like this fixed construction project and start treating it more like a living, breathing thing. It had to become a flexible, ongoing conversation between the people building it and the people who would actually be using it. This comparison right here makes the difference crystal clear. Waterfall is rigid. It locks everything in up front and depends on these massive documents. Agile, on the other hand, is built on flexible cycles. It expects and even welcomes change. And it values one thing above all else: getting a working product into people's hands. So how does Agile actually work? Well, instead of one giant project, you break it down into these small, manageable chunks called iterations. They usually last just 1 to 4 weeks. At the end of every single cycle, the team delivers a piece of working software, they get feedback, and then they reevaluate what's most important for the next cycle. It's fast, it's responsive, and progress is measured by what actually works, not by how much paperwork you finished. Okay, so we've been talking about these big, kind of abstract development models. But why should you, as a user, care about any of this? How does this technical debate actually affect the apps that are sitting right there on your device? Because this shift is everything. Moving from that rigid waterfall plan to a flexible, agile cycle fundamentally changes the entire game for making software work all over the world. It completely revolutionizes the localization process. Look, in the old Waterfall world, localization was basically an afterthought. It was this huge, expensive, and really risky step you tacked on at the very end of a project. But in an Agile world, localization happens continuously, inside every single little cycle. This means teams can get real feedback from different markets as they build, which makes the final product so much more responsive and way faster to update. That Agile philosophy? That's the reason your favorite apps can release updates so quickly, fix bugs for users in different countries, and roll out features that feel perfectly tailored to your language and your culture. It is a direct result of this massive behind-the-scenes shift in how software is built. So the next time you tap that update button, just take a second. You're not just getting new features, you're actually witnessing the end result of this incredible, fast-paced, global conversation, a process that makes sure the digital world doesn't just speak one language, but speaks everyone's language.